Alrighty, let us test our audio. Ta-da! Audio confirmed. Alright, and now we are just going to get our duckies in a row. Alright, and we're moving. Yay! So we are back officially. Yay! There were some moderate technical difficulties, but now everything is back online. So, as a start to the stream, since yes, today we will be featuring the Sirius, but I thought that I would show you guys at the very start, as part of previously on the Bestest Neko channel, the version of the Hydra that I have so far most enjoyed. And I think some of the build elements from it are probably going to be translated into some of the other builds that I was doing on it. And maybe we will revisit it if I find that it is, you know, pertinent to do so. But the version that I liked best was actually the For Science version, where we are focused on basically pretending that she is a science ship and using a whole bunch of universal consoles that are science shenanigan based to do some epic deeps. We will probably maybe pop into a patrol briefly to make sure that the parser is updating, but you can see that the 229k parse that is currently on the screen, that was from a solo ISA using these science shenanigans. Also, it was very survivable, this current build. And I figure also because, you know, it takes people a moment to get in here and see what's up, that I would take a moment to showcase this before we get into building the Sirius. But I'm also going to take a quick moment to go make sure that my titles have updated. Alrighty. So, first things first, push our button that makes the parser go. And then we are going to just pop into rescue and search briefly to make sure that the deeps are updating. Once that is confirmed, I think I shall do a solo hive, perhaps a solo ISA as well, so that those are on cooldown while we spend a great deal of time building the Sirius. So just a quick little get in here. Pew pew. Okay. So we have already confirmed that a macro is not doing what it is supposed to for our benefit, and I will correct that. Good to find this out now in our shakedown before we actually get into the Sirius. Agreed? Of course. Of course you all agree. Because you are intelligent fishies, and intelligent fishies know that Neko is right. Alright.
We did it. Sensors are
Yes,
clear
we.
for the moment. I'm afraid I have some bad news, however.
Alright, so let us take a moment to get that macro going, shall we? I could swear I already... what? Hold on. Yes? You go now? Okay, this will set off some of our abilities, assuming it works. Okay, good. It's working. So, as I said, at the very least, because, I showed the ISA parse previously, so I don't know how interested you adorable little fishies in my chat would be. Like, I don't know how into doing both of them you are, but at the very least, Hive Onslaught. And we shall see if it proves me wrong. I'll be like, I didn't die last time, and this time it's going to be like, bloop. Okay, advanced, yes. So while we wait for her to accept our challenge, I'm going to just show you guys that I put on ferrofluidic or ferrofluid hydraulic assembly, which is for the torps because this is, exotic. Yes, lady, go away. Sorry, that was so rude. Thank you for your invitation, but I am busy. The ferrofluid hydraulic assembly gives us a reduced shared cooldown on our torps, and it also provides some chonky additions to our hull, which we are happy to have for our survivability. The Curie Torment engine is a staple of Psy Deeps, so of course it is here. Lorca's custom fire controls paired with... Ooh. She's like, you will come now. You're in the middle. Too bad. Well, there will be a period of mourning before we actually do anything, so... Okay. This paired with this gives us, which it can also be the dual beam bank if you want, a 25% critical severity boost while also being a substantial crit chance and shield penetration in its own right. This is for the bonus exotic damage. This is also for the bonus exotic damage, but also gives us an active clicky that is quite useful. This is for the active clicky, active clicky, active clicky. And let's see, is this also active? Yes, active clicky. And then we will go over the rest because it is time. It is time.
Join us. Become one with us.
Yes, get it. As you can see, we are surviving our shenanigans. Well, no, hold on. We were too close to that cube that was under us, but we were surviving our shenanigans. And hopefully if we pilot a little bit more judiciously, we shall not. Again, have me proven wrong. But let's see. I'm going to look for these spheres because they are the ones who will eat us alive if we do not take them out. Of course, one of the banes of existence that comes from flying this kind of build is that it is very blinding. Oh, sphere. You are our nemesis. Nemesis. Get 'em. Big on. I'm a bit surprised we didn't capture more spheres in our initial burst because that, targeting the center top one tends to do very well at reverse before it explodes. tends to do very well at capturing all of the evil in the area and blowing it away. Skip the cutscene, for it is an enemy of deeps. It would be nice if I could tell where I was facing. Okay, here we go. And that is a very aggressive graphic it had on there for a moment. Skip it again, yes. We're alming some noms. Picking up all of our delicious garbage. Our vendor recycling. We are being environmentally friendly.
Every ship, every drum speaks with my voice.
Okay, go away now, thank you.
Your efforts are futile. Destroy this vessel, and I will claim another.
Oh, that's the other thing I forgot. I did not turn on our threatening posture, so our hull is lower than it should be. Silly echo. So hopefully we will not kill ourselves. I wish to be proven correct. There we go. So before this cutscene ruined our deeps by a little bit, at least it cut off. We were at 180. And I'm pretty sure that the last time I ran this, I had gotten like 200k is what it was showing before the cutscene brought me down to like approximately 180. But yeah, so this has actually been my favorite version of the Hydra. And since I was kind of like, yes, it was okay or whatever, I was enjoying the ship. But, you know, she's visible when not blinded by our magic. I forgot to nom those noms, but whatever. Because today's about the Sirius, so we're going to be like, you know, popping off. I just wanted to show you that this ship, as a science ship, absolutely slays. It's delightful. It can totally live. And just a little bit more of the showcasing of... Hold on. Let's not get too close or that lady will hail us. Let's see. Active clicky. Of course, there's the exotic damage boost. Active clicky. Another active clicky. And the radiation damage on this is quite useful because a lot of what we're doing is radiation based. And then this is controls, and this is also controls. They give us crit chance, crit severity. And this is for the crit severity, and because that's what was giving us that little yellow shield that was basically damage immunity. And it's very useful. Now, I did swap out the experimental weapon on this from the one that came on the ship because, frankly, that did not seem to be doing anything, like, at all. But this one comes from the last event ship, and last winter's event ship, to clarify. And it is quite decent for a AoE type of weapon, so I kind of used it thematically because I felt like an AoE space wizard, that it would be great. This is another experimental weapon from another event ship, so they're not quite as accessible nowadays. I think perhaps the Soliton Wave Impeller, you might be able to get it from Muds. Put that away for a moment. Let's see, ships. Yes, the Ryzian Corvette. Do not buy it at this price. Wait for when he has a 75% mud sale, or at least a 50. But yeah, you can get this ship, and it should have, let's just scan through the documentation real quick and make sure. Where does it tell us the the weapon? Only a sucker would buy this at full price. It's right there in the text, y'all. So do not buy at full price. And I will have to double check, but I'm quite certain that this is supposed to have the... Oh, there it is. Soliton Wave Impeller. Good. For a moment there, I was going to be like, well, tough. We didn't see it. But yes, that's where you would get this. And it's pretty good. Like, it's been known for a long time to be the top, or one of the top experimental weapons. I'm just doing a quick scan to see if it'd be a little soon for that most recent event ship. No, I don't see it. So the Phlogiston or whatever, not this, the Phlogiston projector, I do not believe is currently available unless you were here for the event and, completed it. But the accessible option that I would also recommend is this Graviton Implosion charges, and it is accessible in that if you purchase the 12th anniversary bundle, not the 13th, which is the ships that we've been featuring on my stream so far, but it has the mirror angle, and that comes with superior area denial, one of the absolute bestest traits in the game for carriers or people using pets. And it's just a good trait in general. You can actually equip it to a ship that's not using pets and it still doesn't work. But this, debuffing your enemies, it's an AoE, so yes, that would also be a good and accessible. And I do intend to do some testing between this and the Phlogiston projector to see if I notice one of them significantly boosting my performance. But we're not here today for the Hydra, even though she is beautiful. I just wanted to, like, maybe y'all didn't feel this way, but I felt like, I'm underwhelmed when I was doing the ship the other day. But this one, when I did this and like really kind of checked the build, it was just to level the ship, because it does level it very quickly, to take it into a patrol and use a bunch of science. But yeah, I polished it a little bit more, and it is very survivable, and it does so much work, and it was very fun. So I wanted to show it off. And, for just to make sure, the rest of the build, this is a Terran Task Force phaser. Oh, goodness. This is a Terran Task Force phaser, which is basically the singular best phaser in the game. As like a standalone, you can only equip one. This is the gravimetric photon torpedo, and that is for the little rifts that it has a chance of creating because they are, exotically based and do AoE. This also does a AoE cloud that is exotically based, and so that, can get its schmutz on a bunch of people at once. This is just a hard-hitting torpedo. I could probably replace this with something else, but, we'll see. Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo is largely on here for the two-piece that I told you about before. And then the best, we have a catch in our throat, a vengeful nuggie. The Revolutionary Deflector. This comes from a event set, which you should also be able to acquire from MUDs. I don't think it shows for me. Nope. This might be it. I wasn't sure if it would show for me because I already have it. Yes. Also, do not buy this at full price. Everything in the store needs a do not be a fool, do not be a sucker warning. But yes, you want to buy this when it's like 75% off, and it will be a good investment for science builds, because this deflector, as you can see, it when you activate any beam or cannon firing mode, it grants additional exotic stats that are very useful. I tend to prefer using the Revolutionary Warp Core as the 2-piece for it. And that's because it has the plus 20 starship control expertise. So it just helps my gravity wells to get bigger. And that's particularly useful with ships like this that don't have a secondary deflector to help pad those stats and is not really meant to be a science ship, even though we can totally make it one. So the 2-piece, more details. Here we are. As you can see, it improves your damage resistance rating towards targets in the forward 90-degree arc, which is very useful for science because generally you are wrecking the day of the things in front of you. Flight turn rate also very useful because it lets you bring your science deflector of doom to bear more readily. But this is the headliner, is the 53.2 exotic damage critical severity, which scales with your starship weapon amplification. So yeah, that is really, really good. Of course, some people might take the colony deflector for its 4? I think it's 4. We can just ask it. 4% critical chance and 15% critical severity. Because if you put that plus like maybe not taking the deflector but taking the engine or the shield or what have you, then you can get the critical severity from the 2-piece of this and then also have the critical severity plus the critical chance from the colony deflector. But I personally prefer retaining the 2-piece of the Tilly set from the Discovery rep because it gives us an incredible degree of hull regeneration that allows us to survive as we have because we are still hull tanking. Shields are still kind of like they're not as useless as they were thanks to some of those changes, but like surviving with your shields exclusively, like no, the hull meta is not dead. It is very much alive. And to that end, I have only slotted Honored Dead, which you might be able to find on the exchange as a Federation character. It should be wildly expensive now, I would expect, because the low buy store boxes that these came from as a standalone trait are no longer available. So only the ones that exist are left. But you can get your hands on this trait as an account-wide unlock from a MUDs bundle, which isn't currently available. The bundles come and they go. And these are at full price. They are not discounted. So again, do not purchase anything from MUDs when it is not on sale. But at some point, I believe it's the faction choice bundle, something like that. It has the Discovery Spearhead ship in it. It has the sarcophagus Klingon vessel, which is what this trait comes from. It's an account-wide unlock. I don't currently own this bundle, but for this trait alone, I think I actually will be buying it. When it first came out, I was like, I already have the crossfield on, characters that I would care. And, well, character, this one, because this is my main. I have the crossfield from the 10th anniversary bundle on my account. So why would I, I don't know, just it didn't seem like it was very appealing to me at the time. But this trait has been doing so much work for me lately. Like I'd kind of forgotten about it, honestly. It's like I knew it was good, but I was a little just interested in not using it, using other stuff. But this by itself, paired with this from Reputation, which is advanced hull reinforcements. Oh, and this I'm talking about is Honored Dead, just to make sure that people know. That is a starship trait from the sarcophagus from the MUDs bundle that you can get account-wide unlocked. And it's like 200 damage resistance rating, like resistance points or whatever, which translates to a very high number of actual damage resistance percentage. And when you combine it with this from your Reputation's advanced hull reinforcements, I didn't show us while we were, flying, but this was getting me up to like 68% damage resistance rating. So yeah, very, very survivable. And again, I'm not going to feature this whole build at this exact moment because we are supposed to be building the Sirius. Let's see here, dock at D-Space 9. While we are loading in, I'm going to tab and poke at something real quick. Where? Do. Alrighty. Okay, there we go. So now we are going to switch to what this stream is really about, which is building the Sirius. Although the Sirius should currently be set to a 4 science build as well, because I was using it on all the ships as a bit of a test to find out, can she science? I think that this one may have been the ship that could science the least, which is not a problem, but she still could. I think she would be a respectable science build. So if you really wanted to fly her as a science Gal X, you could probably get away with it. Although the legendary version is Intel primary, and that lends itself, I would say, a little bit better to an exotic build. Oh, and of course, if you're just looking for a galaxy, then the Cygnus from the 12th anniversary bundle makes an excellent science galaxy. So, let's see here. Same stuff here. Although, the other ship could not really shine with mines because insufficient aft slots. Generally, you want 3 aft slots to make mines work. You can do 4, but I found that 3 is kind of like the perfect sweet spot for me. And I like having the kinetic cutting beam basically at all times. It's very good at making sure that my next target gets targeted rather immediately. Sometimes things are a little bit sluggish, and this just, for some reason, the laser pointer of where ordnance should be going, it helps me personally. I have this Terran Task Force Phaser Beam Array because even if you're not building for phasers, and there's a disruptor version of this as well, which actually is more readily available. I think that unlocks perhaps at tier 5 of the Terran rep, while this unlocks at tier 6. But this weapon all by itself, it hits like a truck. So even if you're not building for phasers, as we are not in this particular instance, hold on this. And I have it on for thematic purposes as well, because I like having at least one beam array in the front to, really emulate what we see in the shows. And yeah, this hits like a truck. So if you're going to have one phaser array, this is the one that I would recommend. Now, because we are using an exotic build on this, I might as well show you, since we're here. This is a viable build that you can do for the Sirius. Gravimetric photon torp, particle emission, dark matter. Because we have fewer forward slots, the neutronic is not present. And again, the neutronic could be replaced with other torpedoes depending on what you are doing. I believe all the consoles are the same. I'm just doing a quick looky-loo. They are. It is the same space shenanigans, or, science shenanigans. Valkyrie fighter. I think we are not going to be using the Valkyrie fighters on our build because they have torpedoes, and because this is a command vessel, command primary, there's a very high probability that our builds are going to involve concentrate firepower 3 and the proc of that ability when you're targeting something that you have debuffed, or it's a debuff that you have targeted with concentrate firepower. It gives somebody with a torpedo high yield, but it only gives one person that boost, and it can be stolen by a pet. So it can just be taken by like a Valkyrie fighter that has torpedoes. So that's a bit underwhelming. So generally, we try to avoid pets with torpedoes, and I think that's like a general rule of thumb of like the DPS community, like anybody who's trying hard, they do not want their concentrate firepower procs stolen by pets. So we will go with Alliance, I believe. Let me just find them here. Yep, an Alliance Fighter Squadron. At some point, I should purchase a Elite. Oh, hey, Adam. Today we are focusing on the Sirius. I did a little like pre-show, I suppose, of showing people the build that I liked best on the Hydra, which was actually the science, like the attempt at being a science ship. And this ship is already built to do basically the same thing. And like I said, it is a viable build. You can fly this as if it was science. I think of the ships from this bundle, it was the least science competent, but it was competent. Scientific minds. Yes. Now let's see here. I'm going to check the traits real quick to see what we're dealing with, because as I said, this is a viable build. So perhaps our first build of the day will be an exotic Sirius. A good day to die because we are a tactical captain. And it gives, you know, it lets our good day to die ability, or go down fighting rather. Where is it? This one? The go down fighting ability, it removes the health threshold requirement. So it allows this potent buff to be cast more routinely. Hello, Sargoreth. Welcome to the stream. And then, let's see here, unconventional systems, because with our science shenanigans that we are doing on this build, the control abilities that we slot over in here, which I will go over in a minute, trigger this trait to give our exotic clickies, such as, well, Genesis Seed. It gives us a higher uptime because they have a faster cooldown. Now, traits, and this is true for science in general, by the way, if you're doing a exotic active console build on science, which is one of the hardest hitting science builds, unconventional systems and control abilities will be your friend in that regard. Particle manipulator, this is a trait that you get from R&D, the science R&D specifically. And so if you level science to 15, you unlock that trait, and it will take you a minute. So if you're looking to do that, then get on it. But yes, based on our particle generator skill, it gives us critical hit chance and critical severity. We're using adaptive offense. You get this from the exchange or out of a lockbox choice of space trait box. Probably between 25 to 35 mil, typically. Terran targeting systems. Oh, this is also from a lockbox that you will find on the exchange. So again, this will be generally 25 to 35 mil, depending on the current whims of the exchange. Terran targeting systems, which is also from a lockbox. Yes, this is a rather expensive build, but you can get to it eventually if you put in the effort, because Nico has put in a lot of effort. Terran targeting systems, 15% critical severity. The penalty of reducing your speed when you get crit hit is usually not anything for us to concern ourselves with. So it's, not really a drawback. It's just free 15, well, not free, multi-millions, but it's 15% crit severity added. This is a trait that you just get for existing generally. And when you're on a team, like in this particular instance, because I have been soloing ISAs or Hive onslaughts, this isn't doing as much work for us as it would in the wild, where we would be on a team of 5 people. So it's only giving us 2% bonus damage when we're by ourselves, but it's up to 10% when we're on a team. Hot Pursuit, this is for the mines on this build, and that just increases their chase distance. And yeah, mines are kind of underwhelming if you don't build for them and make them go. I see we have a fishy that has found us and is swimming about. Fragment of AI tech. This is basically the singular best source of control in the game, which, you know, it does do something. You can see here 29. I believe it caps at 30 energy weapon damage, which is, you know, it's fine. It's a cat 1. It does something. But what we're really here for is that starship control expertise to make our gravity wells as big as they can possibly be. Regenerative control synergy works very well with a build that is focusing on control abilities like this build does, because we are, you know, synergizing unconventional systems with our active clickies, with our control abilities. And so this just makes us extra durable with a practically constant 45% additional hull regeneration. And then Intelligence Agent Attaché, which helps to cool down our captain abilities. Improved Gravity Well for our Starship trait. One of them is to maximize the uptime of... Alrighty. It is to see you soon when you are hydrated. The improved Gravity Well maximizes our uptime of Gravity Well, basically 100% uptime. You do want to be a little bit judicious generally with where you cast your gravity wells, especially on a ship that's not science, because it's very hard to get to that 12-kilometer cap on any ship that doesn't have it at the commander rank. So, you know, it's not as forgiving. But having 100% uptime means that once you capture a barrel of fishies, they're basically, you know, there to be shot at until you let them go. Now, spore-infused anomalies, when you're activating science abilities or intel abilities, creates a rather substantial AoE explosion that is very useful for our deeps and for eliminating the enemy. Kick them while they are down is particularly potent on a build that is focusing on control abilities. I've usually seen between 10 to 15% critical chance coming from this trait, so it's no slouch. Oh, and I should probably tell you where these things come from. Improved Gravity Well comes from the pilot escorts that are science-based. So there's a few of them. Let's see. This is ships. Pilot. Let's see. Perhaps the available one, because I believe the version that I have is an Andorian. Let's see if we scroll to the bottom. Ah, here we are. So I got it from this. Let us just scroll down and make sure that Neko's memory is accurate. After achieving level 5, improved gravity well. Yes. So it comes from this, but there are other versions like, where's the science one? These toilet brushes, which are the Romulan, they're the scrubbing bubbles. One of these, nope, that's the tactical version. Painful Memories, I think that's the engineering version. I do not know where the scrubbing bubbles version is. Here we are. This one has improved gravity well, and then there is a Klingon version. There you are. So yes, these are the locations. So, and because if you have cross-faction flying unlocked from having a max level Klingon character, then you can get any one of these, and you just pick the one that you like the look of the best. Let's see here. The spore-infused anomalies. Ships. Perhaps I should... Oh, come on. Put this here. No, traits. Okay. Now, this comes from a Intel science vessel. Let's see if I... Nope, because that's the fleet version. There we are, the Somerville. This is where you get your spore-infused anomalies from. As you can see here. Kick them while they're down is actually a lockbox ship trait. You can get that from Muds. I cannot show you at this time because his bundles are currently on hiatus. And always remember, when dealing with Muds, only ever buy something when it is on sale. They are rather routinely available, but things come and go, and, you know, don't be a sucker. As the warning on the Corvette told you. But this one comes from one of the Sona ships. And again, I can't show you at this moment, but I'm sure that you can use the wiki. Improved Photonic Officer. This is not readily available, regrettably. It's going to be like 350 to 400 million if you buy the ship that it comes off of. So, you know, if you can't get this, it's not like it's going to make or break the build. It's just something that's useful because of the bonus exotic damage. But this comes from the Tholian Iktomi, which you can find on the exchange. Oh, something is happening. Get out of here, C-Store. Oh, we have a follower. Peter. Well, disappeared. Peter, I think he said Titan, perhaps? Thank you. And you can correct me in chat if I have mispronounced your name. That is how we get engagement. I was not intentionally mispronouncing a name. I should start, though. I'll mispronounce it. Was that right? You can tell me in chat. But thank you. Thank you very much for your follow. It means a lot to us. We are trying to get Twitch Senpai to notice us. And I believe we need 50 subscribers for them to be like, okay, you are worthy and can start doing more things. Sargolreth. Oh. It is pronounced Dave. It's like, well then, that would not surprise me. There are certainly, I think it's a Celtic language where like Aoife is spelled like Aoife. Like it's not at all. Oh, did I, Adam? Tython. Yes, I believe I got it right. Peter Tython. You can tell me if I am right. Let's see. Weaponized exotic particles. I'm being distracted by chat. This is a common Neko theme. But I will engage with you. Isn't that great? You will not be ignored, at least not for long, unless I like literally don't see what you're saying because your chat is over here, or rather over that way. And I'm looking over here. I got it right. Dun, dun, dun. So, the weaponized exotic particles, this comes from the last anniversary. A visitor from Germany is our Peter Tython friend. Let's see here. Ships. And then Trailblazer. It is blacked out for me because I already own it, but after achieving level 5, weaponized exotic particles. So this trait is perhaps, certainly there are people who'd be like, oh, there are better science traits than that, and you would be right. I do not yet possess all things, but this one is an accessible trait that the 75 Starship exotic particles gives you additional exotic damage generally, but it also interacts with this trait, for example, which gives you crit chance and severity based off of your particle generators. So when we activate a weapon firing mode such as this, we will both trigger the 75 from this, as well as, I believe it's an additional 20. Let's check to make sure. 21.3 from this revolutionary deflector I told you about earlier. So, as you can see, it's currently saying 43% critical chance for exotics and 21.6 hit this, check again, 50% and 31. So as you can see, it went up. So this trait has interactions that are quite beneficial. And this entwined tactical matrices we are using, again, there's a lot of synergy in this build because this and this are interacting with our deflector and this trait here, but it's also interacting with this trait to give us more torp spreads than we would ordinarily be able to create if we were using torpedo spread as an actual ability on our bridge officers. So every time we activate this one, we get a torpedo spread. Let's see if we can torpedo spread 1. And then it actually queues another torpedo spread. I'm not sure if it's visible, but it should be a queue torpedo spread so we can fire 2 spreads. And that's all the German I know. Where is the train station? All right, let's see here. So that covers the starship traits of attempting to exotic with this ship. The reputation, we're using the advanced targeting systems, which is basically just a staple of DPS because it is increased critical severity. Rank 2 is 20%. I do not remember off the top of my head what the rank 1 version is, but it's still something that you would slot. Precision, 5% critical hit chance. I think this is 4 at rank 1. Particle generator amplifier for bonus exotic damage because we are focusing a bit on exotics in this build, obviously. And auxiliary power configuration offense, which, you know, if we were in, well, I like to take the balanced one because nobody in their right mind would ever fly with balanced power. And I like to make that my exotic one, which generally, especially if you're not doing DUSI, which is directed energy weapons, if I were using directed energy weapons, then I would probably be like this, and then using emergency power to weapons to cover the distance. Or I might have power to weapons and AUGs a little bit secondary. It really depends on how you're flying, and, you know, you just kind of got to gauge what you're working with. Let's see here. Yep, 102 with an emergency power to weapons would do pretty fairly. But because we are focusing on kinetics, I am not focusing on energy weapons at this time. And so now that is providing us with 6.8 bonus all damage, which that is all damage, so our exotics should be more potent, as well as all of our weapons. Now, if we find ourselves struggling for survival, then one of the traits from Reputation that I personally very much enjoy is advanced hull reinforcements. It looks small because it's just 12.5, but it's a bonus all damage resistance rating. So this is the trait that, for example, when paired with the Honored Dead trait, was getting me about 68% damage resistance rating. And so, yeah, it's very potent if you find yourself needing it and, you know, you have some investment in resistance. Otherwise, you might be better served with something else that helps with healing. This is the other one that is basically in every single one of my builds because it is so good for keeping yourself alive. Whenever I get hit, like crits come in pretty frequently, I find. So getting 125% hull regeneration for 15 seconds, it's basically a 50% uptime with this 30-second lockout. So yeah, it does work. There's a lot of work. I've told a lot of people who, like, if they ever tell me, I'm struggling, I'm dying, I tell them slot this. And that either completely fixes their problem or at the very least severely reduces the problem for them. Okay, so we've gone over all of that. Now for the build, which again, this is just the first build that we are featuring, which is trying to science in a ship that is not a science ship. So I am currently using Suppressing Barrage 3 simply because it's a excellent survival tool by nerfing the outgoing damage of our enemies by 50%. To the best of my knowledge, it does not count as a control ability, even though it slows our enemies, and so it totally should. But yeah, we're using this as a survival. An alternative to this, if we didn't want to do this, would be reverse shield polarity, because that has, especially if you're doffing it, it's a fairly decent, and if you've got the cooldowns for it, nearly a 50% uptime of your shields being remarkably durable. Eject War Plasma we are using as a control ability because it does count, and that will help to cool down our exotic consoles. And then Emergency Power to Auxiliary we are using for the boosts, as you can see, to Starship Control Expertise and Starship Exotic Particle Generators. Emergency Power to Engines for the Get Up and Go. Engineering Team here is kind of a bit of a filler because it will with our current specializations. Miracle Worker, here it's giving us 2% critical chance for 10 seconds whenever we activate a hull heal. So it's, giving us that. But I may end up swapping this out. For example, Let It Go here is a active ability that is a quite decent damage debuff to a single target. An alternative would be Structural Integrity Collapse, which I believe is on this character. Yes. This I think is normally around 5 to 10 million, probably, depending on the exchange cycle. But I would kind of a little bit more optimistically say 5 to 7. But because again, this comes from a lockbox, this one, Let It Go, you get that with winter event items, the currencies. You can buy this with those, and those are tradable on the exchange. And I think this may actually even be tradable on the exchange. Don't quote me on that one, but if you look it up, you might find it. It might be pricey though. So, use your best judgment when determining whether or not you're going to spring for it, because it's decent, but it's not anything that I would necessarily prioritize over other purchases. We've covered these. This is a jam sensors, which isn't terribly useful as a power, honestly, but it counts as a control ability. So we are using it to cool down our exotic consoles. This counts as an anomaly, which synergizes with our spore-infused anomalies and also does damage in its own right. It's also a control ability, and so it will be cooling down our exotic consoles. Tractor beam repulsors can do quite a bit of damage if you are near enough to something to cuddle it a little bit. And it also counts as a control ability, so it is cooling down those consoles. Gravity Ball is also a control ability, so it's also cooling down the consoles while also being a anomaly for spore-infused anomalies. So this and this are the only two anomalies we have on this build. We could try squeezing in others, but honestly, the other anomalies I do not enjoy working with, so no, we will not be doing that. Not even to show that it is possible, just no. Let's see. No. We're using, in particular, this build, like if this were a universal, we might actually slot more science for, trying hard, like just the hardest that we can with science. But since it is a tactical, we are using Fire at Will and Cannon Scatter Volley. As explained earlier, it synergizes with the deflector we have equipped. It synergizes with the exotic, the weaponized exotic particles, and as well as entwined tactical matrices for torp spreads. So these are doing some work. We could also look at traits. Something that we would potentially consider slotting in here somewhere. What would I remove? Perhaps kick them while they're down. Maybe. It would really, really depend. But because this ship does have one hangar bay, we could slot Superior Area Denial. It'll be in the S's. Scrolling. This is the one that I told you guys about earlier in the stream. That is one of the best. It's one of the best I was chuckling because Thargoreth has informed us that his cat is snoring. I also have a cat that has like, I don't know if she has something akin to asthma or allergies or what, but you can hear her breathing and it's like this adorable tiny snore when she's asleep, or also kind of like just generally existing. She kind of always has this, like, you can hear her. I call her Darth Biddy because she's so little. She's so little. She's a mama cat. We rescued her and her babies, and they all grew up and she did not. Like, she stayed an adorable little monkey. And yeah, so I call her Darth Biddy, Biddy being her name because she's itty bitty. And she, you know, her little, I can't even emulate it, but it's just such an adorable little, and she purrs so loudly, but she cannot meow unless you unless you try to give her a shower. She's a very interesting little baby that, like, she'll open her mouth to mew at you. And honestly, her silence is one of her best features because the other cats are so talkative. It's like, shut up. but she will like go and nothing comes out, and it's so cute. But if you give her a shower, she screams at the top of her lungs and finds her voice and becomes the loudest cat I have probably ever heard. So yeah, very, very interesting. I do not know what makes her so special, but she is adorable and wonderful. Anywho, back to this trait, superior area denial. So this also interacts with beam, fire at will, and cannon, scatter, volley. This would cause our energy weapons to, let's see, two targets hit. Let's just make sure. Grants fire at will 1 and scatter volley 1 to your hanger pets. Yes, this makes them go nuts. They just like spew energy weapons at all things. Upgrades your energy weapons. Yes, I wanted to make sure it was specifically energy weapons and not kinetics. So upgrades your energy weapons for 20 seconds, and it provides 30 all damage resistance rating debuff to the target's hit. That's basically like getting another attack pattern beta. And would also vindicate Neko for keeping this, hold on, I'm seeing that is in the way. This beam array would become less aesthetic and more functional, spreading around that debuff. Stations. We also have attack pattern beta, which here is attack pattern beta 2. I think attack pattern beta 1. Let's see if we have it to showcase. Yeah, 30. So the superior area denial is equivalent of attack pattern beta 1 plus beta 2. So this debuff, along with the debuff from superior area denial, plus our pets pelting everything with their AoE energy weapons, that would be a very potent combination. So I am very tempted to slot it in this build, but perhaps that will be a build variant. I will think about it. I'll think what I want to do. I'm just taking a moment to look over everything that I have shown you to see if there's anything standing out to me as something that could be altered to better amplify our science. What has lost none of its potency, Sargoreth? But also something that would be a potential thing here, depending on what we're doing, depending on how hard we are trying at staying alive, depending on whether or not we're basically functioning as the team's science tank, is attack pattern delta would give us additional damage resistance rating while also increasing the vulnerability of anybody who attacks us. So that would be, a potential choice. Attack pattern beta 2, indeed. Let's see here. It is very potent and it is still one of the favored attack patterns. It's usually the one that you reach for. These two are a little bit more niche. Beta is basically like the king of attack patterns. Now, something that could also be done, because we do have a heap of mines and we are using torpedoes, so some things that could be contenders but are not necessarily what we are going to be doing, would be a torpedo high yield 3, as like a in between of our spreads. We would not slot spread because spread would interact with the entwined tactical matrices, which would activate Fire at Will and Cannon Scatter Volley. So it would mess with our synergies. They would not be activatable while this is providing that firing mode for us with Entwined Tactical Matrices. So we do not generally slot this. There are times where Torpedo Spread's interaction with Entwined Tactical Matrices is beneficial if you are using it to cover the downtime of a normal Fire at Will, or if you are basically using it to provide you Fire at Will and Scatter Volley all by its lonesome. Because, for example, Fire at Will has a global cooldown of 20 seconds, but this and a uptime of 10 generally, unless you extend it, but the extension trait is kind of garbage, just being honest. But unless you're tanking, because you have to take hits for it to extend your duration, which that's the part that makes it garbo to me. Torpedo Spread only has a 15-second cooldown, so this would give you, it's just Fire at Will 1, and you might want Fire at Will, 2 or 3 if you can slot it. It generally will serve you better DPS-wise, but if you're looking at maximizing your uptime, then the uptime of having it granted through this might in fact be worthwhile. Or again, to cover the downtime of maybe you use Fire at Will 3, and then you activate this to have Fire at Will 1 while your Fire at Will 3 is recuperating or whatever. I don't personally use it that way, but to cover downtime, but I have heard that there are people who do that. So I am just sharing that to you, and you can make a decision and see what you think of it. Also mines, because we have mines on this ship. I would be very tempted to perhaps take this and put a mine power on there, but the damage resistance debuff of this is probably going to serve us better as a synergistic thing, because a damage debuff is a damage multiplier for everything else on your build. Everything else will be hitting harder thanks to this. And it also is a damage multiplier for your entire team. So focusing on debuffs is actually a very excellent way to make everything go away swiftly. All those things on the map that you do not want to be there, debuffs are very, very useful. Okay, now we're going to take a look at our DOFs. And again, I'm going to just skills. I am currently using Temporal Operative as my primary. And even though this is largely focused on science, I tend to use it all the time. For one, the ultimate ability that saves you if you were going to die and gives you an extra chance of not being for realsy dead is very useful. You do need these additional abilities to help mitigate the downsides of this triggering. But yes, the Entropic Rider, atrophied defenses, well, I'll just let you see what that is. The Entropic Rider, with its 2.5% chance with energy weapons to put, in this case, 1.9. So basically 2k physical damage every 1 second for 10 seconds, ignoring shields. Atrophied defenses, minus 10 all damage resistance rating. Entropic amplification plus 20% all damage for all space damage over time effects. So yeah, it synergizes very well with the Gaudy Man has popped in to say Fire at Will extension being no good equals deep sadness, and that is true. Every other extension trait in the game basically just extends the ability without any qualifiers, no asterisks attached with fine print, but that one requires that you take hits. So it's only if you are a tank is this a viable thing, and so that's why it is Garbo. But anyway, this one, even though it is science focused, it gives exotic particle generator in space, which won't be useful necessarily for all builds, but this 50% kit performance on ground is wildly useful. So this is a excellent space and ground one, and I have found that my DPS went up when I switched to it, and my survivability thanks to this ultimate trait. So even though there are other specializations that people might recommend, I know the DPS League usually tells people to use Intel primary and Strategist secondary, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just personally enjoy the survivability and also have DPS from Temporal Operative, and Miracle Worker is also largely survivability for space and ground, with this 50% max hull regeneration and 50% health regeneration on ground. So it's honestly primarily for survival, but it has some damage boosting effects to it as well. And since I often find myself the target, like even if I were not setting out to tank, I very often am the tank of whatever instance I find myself in, unless somebody is like crazy try hard in terms of their DPS just far outstripping mine, or they are a tank who specifically built themselves to tank. Very often I will end up being the tank, so I build to survive. Also, this is not the default skin of the Sirius. I did put on the Galaxy skin because, I don't know, I like the kind of more realistic look of a metal-looking hull. All right, so let's see here. She's a command ship, so her built-in powers are quite useful. Turn the tide, let's see here. To self, minus all inspiration, that's the currency that you use to activate this. To target, plus 100, which you gain by being in combat. To target, plus 100 all damage resistance rating for 15 seconds. To team, plus 300 hull regen per minute for 15 seconds. So this is actually a very good if you are a tank. This is one of the reasons why command vessels are amongst the best tanks in the game, is because if you are finding yourself quite in a tight spot, that this can usually pull your aft out of the fire. Let's see here. Against all odds, plus 33% bonus all damage for 15 seconds to team, minus 100% weapon power cost. This is being a little bit odd because I thought that the plus 33% bonus all damage was to the whole team. I think it is. I'll have to double check, but maybe it's not what I thought it was. And I don't know. I got a pretty big aft. Are you flying at a Daradex? She's got an aft you can see from the front. Anyway, battle preparation. Team cannot use or be affected by battle preparation. Yes. Bridge officer power recharge times reduced dramatically. Personally, I honestly don't use this one very often. It might be useful, but generally I'm, preserving my inspiration to either use this or this, depending on whether I feel I'm going to need Turn the Tide to save me and my team, or if I want to boost our damage. Which, again, I'm pretty sure that 33% bonus all damage is supposed to be for the team, even though it says just to target with 2 teams specified separately. I will look into that, perhaps not in this exact moment, because I would like to take this ship into Hive Onslaught Advanced. But duty officers. First, we must look at our duty officers roster. Active space. So projectile weapon officers, we currently have ones cooling down torpedoes. I think we might switch to mines, but I will think about that. The con officer is here to improve our get up and go capabilities because he reduces the cooldown substantially, like basically resets the cooldown on evasive maneuvers whenever you activate emergency power to engines, which we do have slotted right here. The gravity well here, the chance to knock enemy engines offline is particularly useful. Like, it's useful at all times if you're using gravity well, but it's particularly useful for a ship that is not a science ship, that is trying to be a science ship, because it just helps knock the enemy's engines offline and they go sucking into the gravity well much more aggressively. And, since we already are not as well equipped for science, this is very useful for making sure that all of our enemies stay where we want them to be obliterated. This giving a chance for an aftershock gravity well means that you can have up to 4 gravity wells out. This DOF does not like to proc for me. I do not know why. I have seen other people use it successfully. I do need to test it on other not bridge officers, on other captains on my account to see if maybe this captain in particular is cursed for some reason, but this doesn't seem to trigger for me very often, not nearly as often as I see it trigger for other people. So something I am going to consider in this moment, because even though this ship is kind of focused on exotics, it is also mines, and I love mines because they are, especially in conjunction with exotics, because they are AoE. So when they go in there to touch one of our enemies, it detonates, and especially with us sucking them all into a gravity well, they can be a substantial source of AoE damage. So I'd be kind of inclined to perhaps slot some mine consoles. But let me see what we would have to sacrifice. We do not have very many tempting options to replace with mine consoles. The assimilated module, I mean, we'd be losing some substantial crit chance and severity if we were to replace these. So I think that rather than trying to do literally everything at once, we might focus on science on this one. We are going to be doing a kinetic build because command lends itself very nicely to kinetics, and we will also be doing perhaps a few energy weapon. We'll see. I think we would definitely want to look at beams and cannons. We might do, well, I suspect that we will be doing a fire at will favoring build for the purposes of playing as a tank, because I do believe that this ship has a great deal of potential to function as perhaps one of the best tank platforms in the game, because its secondary is Miracle Worker on this slot here. So we have a Lieutenant Commander Miracle Worker with which we can slot Mixed Armaments Synergy 2 for 40% bonus all damage, which will usually happen, like you need to mix your weapons. You do need to have like beams and cannons or torps and mines, etc. But this is a substantial boon for the ship's ability to put out damage, as is Narrow Sensor Bands 2, which would be giving us between 35 to 15% bonus energy weapon damage depending on how close we are to the enemy. But being a tank with this suppression barrage, reducing the damage that is done both to us and to our whole team by virtue of nerfing the damage of anybody that we touch, which is why spreading with fire at will or cannon scatter volley would be an optimal strategy. That would be good for tanking. And then the narrow sensor bands and oops, no. There we go. The narrow sensor bands and the mixed armaments synergy would do us very well for boosting our DPS, which increases the tastiness of us for the enemies that we are trying to attract to attack us rather than our friends. But there are so many builds that I can think of for this ship. I know a lot of people were not terribly excited for this ship, but I was. I could see its potential. The trait, which I will actually just go ahead and show you guys, is Garbo to the very best of my knowledge. It's a Cat 1 damage and only for energy weapons, which means it is very limited to just your energy weapons benefit from it. It is Cat 1 rather than Cat 2 or Cat 3, which are, like orders of magnitude of damage amplification. And it's just not very impressive. Shields are hard enough to keep, even if you are actually trying to keep them. So all around, this does not reward you enough for the effort that you would have to put into it. So yeah, this trait is nothing. It has potential if it were bonus damage, and if some of the changes that are trying to be made by our new systems lead designer, make shields more viable, then it could be amazing in the future. But in its current implementation and in the current environment, it's terrible. The ship also comes with a console, which Do I even... Might be this, or that's from the monitor. No, that's from the monitor. Of course, why is it over there? Biaxial. Plus shield capacity, plus starship shield restoration. On activation, cone AoE from each shield facing. 2 foes hit up to 31,000 kinetic damage. 50% shield penetration based on current shield percent. And again, because generally one has a great deal of trouble keeping shields, I would not expect this. Like, the number might look a little impressive, but it's not. Honestly, it's not. And then it sets your shields to 0, and then your energy weapons have shield leech. Like, all around. Also, I think that this console is very meh. So you will not be buying this ship for its trait or its console, but as a build platform, I think she's excellent. Let's see here, we have a question. Sarah Goreth, what are you asking about, friends? We have a question that says, what's friends in quotation marks? So I do not know what prompted this question, but we shall find out when we are answered. Anyway, the current version of this build, let's see. Yeah, since we're not focusing on mines, I will keep this as beta. I am honestly very tempted to change the trait. Oh, Stargareth says that they were making a funny. It apparently did not land for Neko, and so they would like for me to ignore. Please ignore my unlanded joke. It is embarrassed enough as it is. Let's see here. Kick them while they're down. Or improved photonic officer. Let's see what our current critical chance is. 42. So as I said before, the kick them while they're down, if you're using enough control abilities, I usually find it like 10 to 15% crit chance that it provides. Let's see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me just do and could we slot more? There's one other engineering power that counts as control, but it's really bad. It's got like a 1 minute cooldown, like global. You cannot get it lower than that. So yeah, I think we are using the best control setup that we can. 5 is a little underwhelming, so I don't know if that trait will be performing as well as one would hope. We are already very high with our critical chance at 42. As I demonstrated for the exotic portion of our build, which is what we are focusing on at this particular moment. Traits. This is providing, once we, tickle it with this, 50% critical chance, which should be stacking with our global critical chance of 43, was it? So, nearing 100%. We could get basically 100% with kick them while they're down, but there's a smidge of, I would be thinking that it's possible that the improved damage resistance that would, the damage resistance removal that we would be getting with superior area denial by spreading the love, because we are going to be firing at will, spreading the love with this will be making our AoEs more potent. It would also make our pets aggressively more potent because superior area denial just really sets them off. So I'm actually inclined to perhaps take this one off. I would prefer to keep improved. Oh, wait a minute. We're not even using Photonic Officer, because if we were using Photonic Officer, that would nerf us even more on control powers. So it wasn't very viable as an option here. Huzzah, everybody. We have found our contender for sacrifice. Good thing we thought a little bit more before we ran off, right? I think all the other ships that I had built had photonic officer. So of course I was like, yeah, of course. Right. That's a great trait. And it would have been if we slotted it. And it may, did I say 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like being knocked down to 4, that would be terrible. So yeah, under the circumstance, we would not. So we are getting the superior area denial that Neko wanted. Just as soon as we locate it. There we are. Delightful. Okay, let's see here. So we are going to save to scientific minds. Just doing another quick little checky check, make sure nothing is being foolish. And then the final thing that we might want to consider is whether or not we want our mines going more rapidly or our torpedoes going more rapidly. I think because we our mines are not going to be quite as impressive due to not having let's see here. I think it's called covert mine layer suite. This comes from the Lobby store, and it causes your mines to creep toward faraway enemies. So that makes them much more viable for, actually hitting something, because they will move toward them of their own accord without us having to relocate them. So without this in the build, which we would be very, very, very hard pressed to replace any of these without it being a significant nerf to our scientific capabilities. So we're not doing that. So we're not going to focus on mines. We're going to leave it as projectiles with torpedoes, and then these will just be like bonuses. What else? I do need to have, okay, what is this? Attract fire. And that can go away. This can go away. Also you. And then, let's see. Weapon system efficiency, we'll put you here. Go away. The capacitor, that was a capacitor provided by our warp core that's basically always useless. It does not do enough work and has a crazy long cooldown. Fire on my mark. Focused frenzy. Don't have anything there currently. Tactical fleet 3. Gravity well. And let us see. 7.3 kilometers. Not too shabby. We generally prefer larger than that, but again, we are not on a science ship, so we are at an inherent disadvantage. Generate plasma storm. Genesis seed. Temporal vortex. Summon neutronic eddies. Overwhelm emitters, which is a shield heal. We currently have that slotted here as a command ability because we might as well take advantage of our command capabilities, right? So I figured that this could be quite useful for helping to keep the ship alive, although we should be quite thick. We're already at 132. When we're in threatening stance, I would expect that, which is here, the increase to our hull capacity will probably put us to like, look at that. Look at the beautiful wormhole. 160k, I would say, is probably the floor I would be expecting. And that will help us with our regeneration from Tilly's, our regeneration from regenerative control synergy to keep us alive. I do not expect that we are going to have survival difficulties in our current build. Shields are pretty respectable too. I think, I don't know what the shield modifier is on this ship. Perhaps I will check that, but not this exact moment. Decent hull resistances to begin with as well. And we are not currently, like, if we were going to, if we were having trouble with survival, then probably kick them while they're down, or possibly weaponized exotic particles would be the ones I would be looking to replace with Honored Dead to improve our survivability. Again, we're just doing our checky checks to make sure that we aren't forgetting anything. Okay, I'm pretty confident that our DOFs, traits, powers are all in order. I'll check the bar again real quick to make sure that everything's on there. But Overwhelm Emitters, again, is a power that could be replaced. Like this could help with our survivability, but it could also be replaced with, where are you? Structural Integrity Collapse. Since we are using quite a bit of kinetics, let me move things over so that you can see. It'll do physical damage as a dot, which, interacts with our temporal spec, but also minus 18 physical and kinetic damage resistance rating. Some of our exotics also do physical and kinetic. For example, Gravity Well, as you can see, does kinetic damage. So it would assist with that. And then over here, so we've got a little bit of survivability in our build that could be replaced for more deeps, but for now I think we will just leave them as they are. Let It Go, which will also be a dot. And the minus 5 all damage resistance rating that scales up would be quite potent. Oh my, that's actually very potent. Maybe we want that. Kind of interested to see what we do without it. And then maybe later we will do the build with those powers in it. We'll have to see. But for now, I think we'll leave it. Let's just do a double check. I'm going to move this over here so that I can see my powers. Make sure that they're all on the bar. Thank you. I am glad that my mic sounds good. It's actually quite a cheap mic for anybody who's curious. It's a pseudo-tac. There's a lady on YouTube who recommended it in one of her videos, and apparently it does do some work. I am considering perhaps upgrading it in a not too distant future. We will see, because I have heard tale that something like a Blue Yeti X would be good. Perhaps better. But, we're not trying to spend too much immediately up front while we are starting our streaming stuff, and there are probably other priorities. If, as Adam says, if our mic is quite good to begin with, then, do we want to polish to perfection something that's already quite good, or do we want to invest our assets in polishing something that is dingy and tarnished and desperately requires assistance? Okay, so beta, yes. Scatter Volley, yes. Fire at Will, yes. Yep. Engineering team down there at the bottom. Emergency powered engines as well. I see emergency powered auxiliary. There is our eject warp plasma. I believe this is our, suppression barrage. I like to put that very high up in the spam bar priority. So my spam bar goes from here across this way, and then 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 this one here is the last one, which, depending on if I have enough room, will either end up being this, which this redirects the shields forward, which is very useful in a forward-facing build, and this distributes your shields evenly. And I think it's not quite as potent. I think this reroutes power to a forward-facing more aggressively than this reroutes shield power to all your facings. And it kind of depends which one works best for you on how you're flying and the circumstance. But I'm thinking that this will probably serve us best for what we are going to be doing. Let's see, this is on the board. I believe it's here. Yep. Jam sensors. It'll be dark. So what is this? Decentralized immunity. That is a, I have it on the spam bar rather than judiciously using it, which is honestly a little suboptimal for like not having it exactly when you need it. But I I kind of like it, the immunity just popping up as often as it possibly can, and then using our unconventional systems to cool it down. So this is on the bar. This, let's see, this Delphic Tear. This is another of our active clickies, but it goes off so frequently. Usually, I don't know if we have enough controls for it to be shining as brightly as it normally would, but it goes off rather frequently, and it's like this big purple like boo 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 in front of us, and I like it just basically going off as often as it can to destroy our enemies. Your mic now is great, no need to upgrade. Yeah, we'll see about that. Could you imagine if what if a Blue Yeti X is so much better, and like, are you concerned that you won't be able to handle my voice when it is more perfectly captured? That is a valid fear. I will take it into consideration when making my decision. Because honestly, I do have my eye on like a graphics card, perhaps. Like, it's not something I'm clamoring for, because my graphics card is fine. But there are so many programs for 3D stuff and games and like streamer features that I don't have an NVIDIA card. I have an AMD card. So, which, don't get me wrong, AMD is playing a lot of catch up, and they're doing an excellent job, and I really enjoy them as a company, and I believe in them. I believe in you. But like the RTX voice features, the just all kinds of things that NVIDIA has, I have developed a little bit of jelly. A little jelly has formed, and I am considering perhaps getting an RTX card to improve a whole bunch of things. And, we will see. Okay, so that was a distraction. Let us make sure that things are on the board. Temporal vortex probe is here. Neutronic eddy generator, I believe, is here. Genesis seed, I believe, is over here. Yes. And then plasma storm module is here. Oh, not here. I mean here. I use this first to like group everything up, and then we put our AoEs all on them. What is this? Constrictor anchor launch. The constrictor anchor? Constriction anchor? I don't think I find it terribly useful as an ability, because it's single target. So I just kind of spam it off with this stuff, and it, if it's a boss target, then maybe it does some work. Let's see. Kinetic damage per second, minus flight speed, minus turn rate. Oh. Yeah, like it's, and it has a strong possibility of getting destroyed by fire at will and things like that. So it's just, something that I send off. Okay, so all the actives are on the board. Let's see our control abilities. I didn't see, is it very cold in space here, perhaps? Nope, jam. Tractor. Eject plasma. Huh. Looks like that one is not on the board. Let us correct that. Indeed. NVIDIA has a massive, Adam tells us that the pendulum swings, but in his humble opinion, NVIDIA is king right now. And that is true, because NVIDIA has been king for like the past, I want to say like 20 years. It's been a very long reign by NVIDIA, and AMD's like stood absolutely no chance of touching them. But even though AMD has been making some massive strides, the first mover advantage, the industry perception and adoption, like, I don't think Blender, the free 3D graphics program, I don't think that they even use AMD's processors to the best of their ability. I think that they basically just work with NVIDIA. And that is also, part of the thing is you need people to adopt the card to motivate the industry. So they've got a big uphill battle, and I would love to support them. And I have, because I bought this AMD card, but now that I'm streaming and looking at computer graphics more, you know, because like this adorable hoodie didn't make itself. Yeah, my interest is piqued. And so NVIDIA, the green evil monster, the troll that has taken command of the graphics bridge and is like, you will pay our NVIDIA tax, our NVIDIA toll. Yeah, I am looking at potentially swapping over, betraying Team Red. I still believe in you, and I look forward to you, you know, being a proper contender in a not too distant future, but in the immediate, I think that an RTX card would serve me well. Okay, so we're going to save our loadout because we have made a couple of tweaks. Although I think, very cold in space, I think I usually prefer to have a little bit higher up. Yeah, I think we'll put it here. And then this here, yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this? Oh, wait. Did I already have it? Oh my goodness. Neko is blind. I have complained about this before, that I am very bad at being able to see these darkened icons on my screen. So, so it was already there. So yes, this, 4, but I said a 5. We have 5, right? Oh, gravity well. And we have that over here. So I already showed you my spam bar goes from here to here, basically across all lines. And then just checking to see what is here. Nothing. Just relocate mines. Yes, as it should be. Good. Okay, I think everything is in order. But also, I was going to say that I have a spam bar, you know, macro or keybinds, whatever you want to call it. Well, it'd be keybinds in this case because they're done through Star Trek Online directly. This, and basically this whole line across here are triggered by the 3 key. So that allows me to like spam all of my anomalies. And then my macro, I have a macro that when I activate it, it spams spacebar because spacebar activates all of this in through here while also firing my weapons. And so it hits space until I tell it to stop, and that saves my keyboard from the repetitive stress injury as well as my carpal tunnels. And then I have a macro that can also do just 3 if I wanted it to, but I currently have it set to do 3 and space. Like it goes 3 space, 3 space, 3 space, 3, and you know, that's to set off all the things. All right, so without further ado, we are going to do a private Hive Onslaught to test the mettle of this ship as a fake science ship. All right. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yes. I do believe that I am missing. Not that I honestly don't use this that often because it has such a long cooldown time, but it's good to have it on the bar in case we need it. It looks like we do have room to slot Kobayashi Maru resupply. Normally I run out of room on my bar, so I honestly have kind of stopped even trying, even though it can be quite beneficial, the buffs that it provides. Assuming that it does not betray you and those buffs go to somebody who is not you. Perhaps I shouldn't slot it to just show what the ship is capable of doing without that device, so I won't. But I am going to... Yes, thank you. Feel like Quantum Slipstream. Wait, was it not here? That call Kobayashi Maru was there. I'm going to move this here so that they can be swapped easily. I like to be able to like plop plop depending on whether I need my shields forward or distributed. And Quantum. Slipstream drive. I'm going to turn this on for,
You
because we are going to be threatening. Obviously, we're the only one here.
have strength of purpose. You will be born.
All right. Let's try not to be too near anything when it blows up. Our minds should generally be seeking things out on our behalf. All right, we are doing excellent so far. We have barely been tickled. Neko says, inviting disaster. Not there, there. And I shall transport mines to its location in case we had any just floating about. Well, getting a little more toasty in here. Let's see, where's our next target? Need to zoom out a little bit. I think I want to target you. Well, we're getting some damage. I'm deploying this. I had just said that we probably won't need it, and yet here we are. Hopefully our little invulnerability probe will show itself in a not too distant future. Well, we want to stay in the green bubble to the best of our ability for now while we are being assailed. Let's see. There's tactical cube. Get it. Yep. Doing some, yay, doing some work. I think we actually, oh no. It didn't say that we had failed the first optional yet, so I thought that we were so close. We were doing epic deeps, and I think we almost made it. But it's fine. We're on our own, right? We have to cut ourselves some slack. I'm summoning our minds to it. Don't know how many we have lying about, but I believe we are about to have to skip the cutscene again because it loves doing that when I come over here. No, yay, how kind. We're arming our noms, picking up all the space or refuse.
Your efforts are futile.
All right.
Destroy this vessel.
Let's show her what's what.
Another.
Doing some excellent work still. I think we may have, well, they may have been destroyed by her whole thing. That or she made us destroy our own pets when she confused us. She is an unkind lady. Yep, some decent work there.
I am eternal. This is not the end.
If you wish to seek the afterlife, learn to tickle cat. Rub the belly, but do not tickle, or the vengeance will be swift and severe. Not bad for a fake science ship, if I do say so myself. I think we already ate all the noms. I'm just looking. Our warp out camera may show us if I'm incorrect, but we're going to go ahead and go do our ISA solo so that we can see the science deeps with that. And then we will be converting our build to kinetic first, I believe, focusing on mines, and then an energy build of some type. We will see which one I choose. Let's see here. Private. Dun, dun, dun. They have immediately accepted our invitation.
The situation is grim.
Yes. All right. So I'm using attract fire because, again, we are not focusing on energy weapons, which is what this would be useful for. But it gives us additional damage resistance rating. And, you know, obviously we're the only one here, so they're going to be targeting us, so we might as well be threatening to the max. Let's get our pets out there so they are ready. At least the first wave. We'll see if the second wave is ready in time. I don't expect they will be too far behind. We have high augs, which tends to improve their relaunch rate.
Scanning the nanite transformer.
Get him!
Additional data is available.
The ship is a bit unwieldy, though. I did not intend to go cuddle them quite so close. All right, here we go. We shall see if our relocated mines take care of those on the sides. They do not seem to have. That's okay. We will give them a little extra special attention.
Disarm your weapons. You will escort us to your home world, where we will begin assimilating your culture
Probe is
and
closing in on the
technology.
transformer. Destroy it.
Doing some good work here. I would hope that those mines would
Destroy it.
take out the generators around it, but they, again, we're not really focused on mines. That might have been a reason for us to aim at DOFs for that purpose. Oh, getting some go. Launching some countermeasures to hopefully not go down. This is making me wish I had slotted Honor dead, but we are still alive. We are fine. Time to focus on the gateway. Doing some work, yes. Although obviously not as high as that like 200 going on 300k that I displayed at the beginning of the stream, which was the Hydra as a pretend science vessel. I believe that a portion of that is attributable to it has more control abilities that I could slot for it. It may have also had more exotics available, and it's faster, so, you know, getting from here to there, it was more efficient at that task. But we are no slouch as a fake science vessel.
Lower your shields and await assimilation.
Hopefully, get in there and let's get this schmutz on him. Oh, I think the green may have gone away before we got here. All right, where's something else hiding? That lone survivor. You ruiner of Parses. Why did you not come? Come find me. So yeah, basically 180k as a fake science ship soloing this thing. Not shabby at all. Let us be responsible custodians of space and
Sensors confirm that the
collect our loot, our noms. Num. Oh, there's more. Num. 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 Ooh. Num. 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 Okay, good. I believe that is everything. So I believe we will take a moment to go see Quark and unload our inventory just in case, because I honestly haven't checked. And then we will swap our build over to kinetics. Or maybe we should swap to energy. I'm just thinking that, you know, we're going to have some downtime before those are available again. Space Nine, where are you? Should be, well, in this direction. Emergency powered engines, evasive maneuvers, go! I see people in this direction. Where are you? Where are you? Ah, above us. There we are. Now, once we board, again, Quark. Quark to sell off our stuff, and then we will swap builds. But yeah, because of that downtime, we already have a lot of kinetics slotted, so I'm thinking that we might, I don't know, you know what, we can just, we'll do our kinetic, and then we will, Quark, and then we will do energy. Like if it's still like, nope, time, you have time to spare, then we will start working on an energy build.
What can I get for you?
And we'll just switch to the kinetic to test it, and then we'll switch to the energy after to continue building. Yes, give us all the recycled treasure. Our inventory must have put up quite a bit more, so it is a good thing that Neko thought to come and relieve ourselves of all of our ill-begotten goods. All right. So, on. Mouse is rubber banding a little bit. You stop that. We will go to space. Sir, please stop with your lagginess. Okay, so kinetics. I would like to focus on mines. I'm not sure if I would replace our current aft situation, although it is possible. I'll have to consider it, but I'm pretty confident that. Let us first make sure. Did you put anything on my bar? Yes, you did. You put this on my bar. You put this. I told you no. You put this back on, and I do not want it. I don't see anything else that they place back. Oh, nope. Oh no, we'll save the changes. Save to Science Minds. Now, it is time for kinetics. I'm just going to go ahead and swap the DOFs over. Back. Projectile. Projectile weapons officer. Mines. Mines. And mines. So I do not believe we are going to be retaining our scientific shenanigans, but I will come back and replace these once I have decided exactly which direction we're going. Okay, so let us see. Unsave changes. That is because we are doing kinetics. New loadout slot. Kinetic mine. Now, these active clickies are going to be leaving us, but the question is, exactly what for? All right, I want the covert that I spoke of earlier. Make our minds creep toward things. I want... no. Oh, it's because there's something stuck. Ordnance accelerator. As stated previously, this one comes from the Lobby store. This one comes from the Gamma reputation, and working together, they reduce our global cooldown of mines by 2 seconds, which is very substantial. Helps us pop them out much more frequently, especially when paired with the duty officers that we just slotted to make our mines go bloop. Let's see here. What else do we want? Since we are doing kinetics, we very well might wish to have a ferrofluidic hydraulic assembly, because this reduces the global cooldown of torpedoes, and it'll also do us some favors with our maximum hit points, our weapon and auxiliary power. Let's see. What else? I don't think we're going to be keeping this little immunity dude, even though it provides us a substantial degree of critical severity, but we will see, because it is not bad. So maybe we want to keep it. These are going to be going, however, except for this one. Lorca will be staying with us. Fakiri Torment Engine. It increases non-hazard damage over time, which we do have some of those, so maybe we want to keep it. Fire, radiation, plasma, and physical damage. We do have plasma in the form of this at the very least. Let's see. And dealing non-hazard dot damage has a 10% chance to trigger nearly 2,000 fire damage per second for 5 seconds. I am a little bit tempted to perhaps keep this. We shall see. The tactical console, so it has to stay in the tactical or universal slots. Let's see, what shall I replace this with? I feel like Tachyon Net drones for the crit chance and severity, as well as it having a very potent active capability, would be a good slot here. Let's see. This, even though it, provides controls and we're not going to be focusing on that, it is good for a critical chance, critical severity, weapon power setting, damage control, which improves our passive hull regeneration, which is generally how we are surviving. And hold on, let me just make sure. Yep, and the control expertise. This one is the best singular source of crit severity in the game, so we are going to want to keep this. This comes from the Lobby store. Oh, also, this comes from the Omega reputation. Let's see. This Tachyon Net drone, that comes from the Bozeman. You can buy that in the C-store. It's a standard issue C-store ship and a quite potent intel-based vessel in its own right. So it's a good ship. I think the trade on it is actually quite good too, but not one that I typically use. It's a little judicious for my taste. I generally prefer constant potentiality, constant potency versus occasional potency. Let's see here. All right, we had a moment of audio shenanigan, but it's fine now. This, and then back to this. Okay, there we go. Okay. Right. So this one, I do like our little invulnerability dude, and the crit severity is not shabby. We're not heavily built for exotic at this time, but it's providing even more critical severity than this console. So I don't know, depends, because we could get more chance if we were to use like this tachyokinetic converter, for example. And it would also give us crit chance. So let's see what we're standing at now. 43.3. Maybe we're going to see, because this is a work in progress. I know we're going to be taking off these. We could either go with photonic, by which I mean photon consoles, such as these, which are excellent for staying alive because they give you a chance to have a pretty substantial, pretty substantial hull and shield heal. These consoles come from the Fleet Colony world. We would need, these are not triggered by the torpedo spreads given by entwined tactical matrices. So we would have to ensure that we have additional powers, like the mine power and probably torpedo high yield. But we will have to see, because we're going to have to determine how we're reworking our bridge officers. But these are contenders for staying alive while also boosting our damage of our photon-based weapons. Let's see. Interesting. I do not have crit severity or crit chance versions of. Sorry, we are being assaulted by some little buggy. Be gone. What else? What else? The ultimate modified swarm processor is a good source of critical chance, so it is a fair contender. So many choices. Something I am considering doing is swapping this one, the particle emission plasma torpedo, for there's an enhanced biomolecular photon torpedo that does very high amounts of damage under torpedo high yield, and concentrate firepower will be giving us high yields, so that would give us a opportunity to take advantage of that. I think first we will adjust. Yeah, let's adjust our bridge officers and see what we're going to do here. I know that we're going to be taking advantage of these miracle worker station, slots here on this station. I don't think we'll be taking advantage of the ensign. So the question is, do we want to replace this with perhaps a tactical officer? Let's see, how many? That might be our only universal slot. Tactical, engineering, engineering command, science ensign. Yep, that's our only universal. So if we are going to get more attack into this build, that is how we are going to have to do it. The question is that how we're going to do it? I think it is, let's see, Romulan TAC 2. Let us see if he has a miracle worker. Where are you? Where are you, RomTac 2? You are not in an alphabetically convenient location. Okay. Skills. He has not been trained in miracle worker. What a shame. Well, we will fix that. Alrighty. We need a miracle worker. Let's see. It is called... nope. It is called a specialization qualification dash miracle worker. There we go. By yes. Then let's see here. Rom TAC 2 skills. Learn miracle worker. Yes, please. And then let us see. Oh, of course we have to switch him to it. All right, time to go get trained. Oh. By the way, Neko prefers Deep Space Nine as home base because, for one, basically everything is here. No, the Academy isn't, which is like the one frustration. But it's cross-faction, so whether you're Klingon or Federation or Romulan who is aligned or Jem'Hadar who is aligned in either direction, this place is universal. It is welcoming to all. It's also canon. Did I already say that? The canon location, so that's why I have this as my home base. Okay, let us see here. Rom TAC 2 skills. We want miracle worker. Space. And we are going to do, well, narrow sensor bands 2. By. And we are going to get mixed armament synergy 2. By. Yes. Very good. So, oh, wait, was RomTac 2 here? Well, that is just silly. It's fine. Silly Neko. That is user error, but it's fine. I'm sure it's for the best anyway that they are also trained. So, let's see here. I want mixed armament synergy 2. In this case, we may not use narrow sensor bands to, because we're not really using energy weapons. And that would be narrow sensor bands. Arrow sensor bands. 35 to 15 bonus energy weapon damage. We only have the one energy weapon equipped. So rather than focus on that, I think that we might use these powers. Like, for example, the chemosite-laced weaponry will do great things with our kinetics. And this could be Torpedo High Yield 1, for example. Possibly. We might want this one to be a mine power if we end up using those colony tactical consoles to improve our survivability. We will decide that later. Let's see. So this we are going to want to, which I will have to craft the manual for. We're going to want Concentrate Firepower 3 on that slot because this is a kinetic build that we are focusing on. I just need to retrieve the pads from my account bank. So, duty officers, R&D, officer training, command, let's see. Should be toward the top of command. Yep, Concentrate Firepower 3. In progress. We will be patient, though we are loath to ever. We shall. We're going to save those 75 dills. All right. Well, collect reward. Dun, dun, dun. And then somebody is desiring attention. Oh, it's She-Hulk. Who has named themselves Charlie. You are. I do not believe that that is She-Hulk's name. Do I know She-Hulk's name, though? Her real name. That's part of the problem, is that I would totally make a She-Hulk cosplay, but then, like, canonically she should be melee, and melee in this game is bad. So, unfortunately, we shall not. Okay, that's... enough of that. Let us look at... Okay. We're probably not going to be retaining jam sensors here. You might end up going back up to the trainer and getting... Hazard emitters could be useful, or... Polarized hull for the increased damage resistance. Hazard emitters could even be used in a spammable fashion, though, for improving our damage resistance generally, but also a heal for our Miracle Worker specialization to give us that 2% crit chance. We shall see. Could also just be very cold in space, for example. Even just slotting it when you're not designed for exotics, it's still an AoE damage dealing ability, and so, you know, every deeps counts. Let's see here. We could potentially do Augs to Bat in this build, but I don't think I necessarily want to because of Cold-Hearted, which is an ability. It's a trait that I possess. It comes from an old event ship, the Pleshtrel, or yeah, I think it's a Pleshtrel frigate. And I do, like I said, I do have it. I already have the trait. I wouldn't have to level it. But it's energy weapons as well, I believe, that apply its debuff, so I wouldn't expect it to perform quite so aggressively here. And we do have the Boiler effect for cooldowns, so Perhaps we shall not. Right. Concentrate firepower. Rom. Inge. Well, no, that's not him.
Oh, wow, you're doing great.
Rom. Inge 1. Skills. Learn. We also need to put him to command if we wish for him to actually display his capabilities. There we go. What do we want to do? I'm kind of tempted to, structural integrity collapse, considering that we are going to be a kinetic boat. I want it. And let it go. I also want it. So I think that that's what I want. I want this and this to improve our damage. We've got emergency power to engines. We could put emergency power. I don't think auxiliary is going to be doing us too many favors this round. So could be emergency power to weapons so that our one emergent, aux to dampers. We could do aux to dampers to improve our turn rate and our damage resistance rating by doffing it. And I'm going to go ahead and doff it now so that I don't forget, because Neko can be very forgetful. It's going to compete with this one because I believe it's a matter-antimatter specialist. So we can only have one. There can only be one matter-antimatter specialist. Personally, I really wish that under these circumstances of you can only have one, that like one of that type instead, like respect the 3 cap and allow us to have like one of this one and one of this one, for example, which will give us plus 40 energy damage resistance rating on top of the kinetic and physical damage resistance rating that yes, right? It's auxiliary power to dampers. At the base, it just gives kinetic and physical damage resistance rating. This will give us energy damage resistance rating and increase the uptime so that we have it basically constantly, I would expect. But there can be only one, although I shall attempt slotting it to find out if perhaps things have changed. Swap? Nope, you can only have one. So yeah, I think one of a type is more appropriate than you can only have one. That would be a nice change. This gravimetric scientist is not doing us any favors either, so we should replace them, but we will determine with what later. Let's see. Let's see. Not seeing anything jumping out at me as something that... Let's see. I'm going to switch this to ROM Psi 2. Because I believe they have... ROM... Or rather, ROM Psi 1. I believe that they have more selection already. Yep. They do not have... polarized hull already. That would have been useful if it were already here. Perhaps we shall slot this. Because I think we're already going to be relatively durable with what we're aiming at. But none of these powers are striking me as things that I would slot anything to replace with for this, other than perhaps... an energy weapons officer that would, give us a chance at increased critical severity might be worthwhile. If I had those wildly expensive Borg duty officers, then maybe one of them would be a suitable candidate for like more generally providing damage or survivability. I'll have to look into those, honestly. I haven't ever really studied them. I know that they're like, oh my gosh, they're so potent, and that's why they're like hundreds of millions EC. But for a main character like this one, perhaps it would be worth having one just to know, just so I can taste the the rainbow of glory that's supposed to be. Let's see here. Energy weapons officer. Crit severity, but they are not locked to us, so we want to look for a different one. I believe mine are purple. I mean blue, because I am not a glutton for punishment and enjoy a bargain. That's shield penetration. Chance. Severity. There we are. Another potential candidate, although we don't seem to have enough eng to support it. Unless I were to... wait, where are we? Yes. If I were to, you know, perhaps lose one of these powers, I could downgrade emergency powered engines and then put reverse shield polarity here, and then we could doff that reverse shield polarity, and that would make us just, like, aggressively even more survivable. Maybe. Let's see. Traits. So we are going to basically be reslotting all of the traits that we have here. I'm quite tempted to do Honor Dead, just because we were having a touch of a struggle, and this one all by itself does just so much work that, yeah, I'm inclined to put that on there. I'm going to want Ceaseless Momentum, because that is an excellent kinetic power. That comes from the Cleave ship, which is like it has some weird Klingon name, but it's the Cleave ship. It's the one that Takuvma in Discovery and in the Battle of the Binary Stars says, "Prepare to receive my envoy," and then he rams the Admiral ship with it. That ship. And you can get it account-wide unlocked. Like, it's from a lockbox, I believe, so you could probably find it on the exchange, but for the account-wide unlock, of which I am a fan, it's a Mud bundle, and I believe it's Mud's Choice of Intel bundle, or Mud's Choice of Intel pack, whichever way they chose to phrase that. It will contain that ship, an account-wide unlock, Ceaseless Momentum, which is an excellent... Get on there. So that's +5 bonus kinetic damage for 45 seconds when firing any torpedo, and +5 bonus kinetic damage resistance rating to yourself for 45 seconds, stacks up to 5 times. It also removes 1 second to recharge time of torpedoes, so that will synergize quite well, considering that we changed our projectile officers from torpedo-based ones to mine-based ones. Let's see here. We already have Entwined Tactical Matrices, which is also a trait that does a great deal of work for kinetics. Superior Area Denial. I think we will retain this because it's still one of the best things that we can have for our pets. And then... what shall we do? Attack Pattern Delta Prime could be useful if we are actually tanking and we're to swap ourselves to Attack Pattern Delta. If we did want, you know, because like I said, I think that this ship has great tanking potential. Though probably with, you know, energy weapons being more heavily featured. There's a duty officer that increases the threat that you generate by, I believe, 100%, while Attack Pattern Delta is up. And I believe you can actually stack 3 of those things if you really want, which should provide a great deal of threat generation enhancement. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that very specifically enhances kinetics or anything that we are doing. I might end up slotting the trait from the Hydra that gives bonus damage to your pets, because we do have pets, so they might
You're a winner.
benefit from that trait. The question is whether or not it would be better than something else. We're also going to have to modify our personal traits here in a moment.
Those ship
Let's see.
pretty snazzy.
Nope. Do. Something that I actually am a bit of a fan of when it comes to kinetics is that there aren't generally all that many powers that stand out for kinetics. Oh, although I am reminded of the, I think we'll come across it here in a moment. There's a trait that when you fire high yield torpedoes, it summons a rift that does damage to enemies, and that can be quite potent. So that might be something for us to slot. We will see. But because there aren't a whole heap of abilities that are very specifically kinetic focused, or like for the purposes of this build that kick them while they're down for critical chance, we don't have enough controls for it to be worth using. So, that leaves you relatively open to put on additional survival traits if you want to, maximize your not dyingness. Something that is coming to mind as a damage trait, if we did want to put it on there, is improved critical systems here, which would improve our critical severity and our critical chance by a decent amount. Whenever activating emergency power bridge officer abilities, but let's see. I feel like, let me see, emergency powers. I think they do have a 15-second global cooldown, so that should be a practically 100% uptime. Just wanted to double check because something was coming. I was like, wait a minute, what is their global? I know you can only effectively have 2 constantly up. No, we don't want that. Where were we? We were in the improved. Okay, let's see. Improved feedback pulse is a strong contender if you're going to bother having enough science to slot a feedback pulse, and if you are threatening to gain enemy attention, because it will give a substantial boost to critical chance and critical severity. So, combined with attack pattern Delta Prime, which also gives you crit chance and crit severity, that can be a very potent tank build. That's not something we will be focusing on with our kinetics, but when we are aiming toward our energy build, these are contenders. Let's see here. As I said, we're not going to be slotting this because we don't have the control powers to make it work. Lost in Time is a decent ability as well. It's basically the temporal ultimate that can save you periodically. But, it's got a relatively long cooldown, so I'm not expecting us to be having that hard of a time. And if I were trying to build for durability, the History Will Remember, which comes from the Narendra and the Vorcha support cruisers, which also have legendary variants that also have the trait on them. I believe it's the legendary 11th anniversary bundle that has those ships in it as well, or the standalone versions that I mentioned earlier, which are just C-store variants. But History Will Remember will be I believe 30% Cat 1 increase to all damage, while also providing a substantial amount of hull regeneration and hull capacity that could be very useful for keeping us alive. So it's kind of like an all-rounder trait that is certainly on my radar here, but we're still scrolling to see anything jumps out to Neko, because honestly, I'm quite tempted to just slap on some very thick hull and call it a day, but I kind of want to spend some time with you, chat, and look over things. Like we've been passing up a bunch of tempting powers if we were focusing on energy weapons at all, which we are not. Piercing projectiles. On torpedo or mine-firing modes for 15 seconds, plus 200 shield penetration and 200 armor penetration. Yes. I do want that. I want to see what all it can do. Okay, so that's a good one. And I do think that Honor Dead will be enough of a tanking trait when all is said and done that we're not going to need more than that. So I am trying to focus on something a little more, let's get those deeps up there, shall we? Oh, that's another trait that's very good. It's not actually here in front of us, but I think it's called A Good Day to Die. We have a few traits called that. Comes from the legendary Vorcha. And the more damage that you take, it increases your incoming healing, but also gives you bonus damage. So it's a good tanking trait that will be on our radar. Neko's thinking ahead and being distracted. I don't think Shall We Not Revenge, I don't think was doing much work when tested. Well, Sniper could be useful if we maintain our distance. Yeah, we'll have to see. Subspatial warheads, this is what I was talking about before, where high yields cause or transport warhead will cause a rift to spawn and it chases enemies. I'm going to slot it for now. And here's a strike group command authority, which would be 30% bonus damage to our fighters. Might be worth it, we'll see. It's possible that one of our other builds will focus, like particularly an energy weapon build, spreading some stuff, and when we're tanking, or not when we're tanking necessarily, not specifically. Though we could aim for like the tankiest possible build. But it's on my radar. We have pets. Supercharged weapons can be useful, but that's primarily if you have like an energy focused build. Where you'll need at least one torpedo to set it off with spreads. Just checking for anything else to jump out at us and be like, oh no, that's so much better. Obviously we should be using that. Nope. So I think we have a decent build there in terms of space traits. So I'm going to go ahead and save whatever it is that it will allow us to save from our loadout to kinetic mines. Then we're going to go to space. Then what? Personal space traits. We already handled our DOFs. We have already saved to kinetic mine. We've already done our bridge officers. And I believe we shall keep this so far, although this might turn into a mine power. It might. It's debatable. I'd be inclined, but we'll see. Traits. So unconventional systems we are not going to be using at this time because we do not have the controls for it. Particle manipulator we will not be using because we are not focusing on exotics. Adaptive offense is still a yes. Terran targeting systems is still a yes, as is fleet coordinator. Hot pursuit because we are using mines. Fragment of AI tech is not generally going to be servicing us now. And regenerative control synergy is also unlikely to be servicing us very much, although it is possible that, I believe very cold in space. Let's just check. Let's check its, I shall use my phone here and check what the global cooldown is on it. Very cold in space. Star Trek Online. Depending on how frequently we can be casting that. Global cooldown 30 seconds. I think that's pretty standard for science powers. I'm not sure we can get a controllability at Ensign that would do us any better than that. A little underwhelming though, honestly. So I think we actually will take this off as well. And we will focus on, for example, repair crews. If we want survival, it may end up not remaining, but I'm putting it on just in case. It is stacking damage resistance rating and hull repair rate. So that would be very potent. Resonating payload modification, we are going to want for increased physical and kinetic damage resistance, decreased physical and kinetic damage resistance rating to our enemies, and it stacks up to 5 times. Self-modulating fire is quite useful for getting our projectiles and energy weapons to penetrate enemy shields. Let's see. Superior projectile training will do us well. I'm just going to do a little scroll to see if anything jumps out at me as obviously that should be in our build. Or, you know, something that's just like, oh no, that's a contender. What do I do? Nope. Oh, kinetic precision. Found a contender. I think we're going to be plenty durable, that we won't need repair crews, but we'll see. That 10% shield penetration, I would think to be potentially quite potent. We're going to go ahead and slot it for now while we continue our scroll. Holographic mirage decoys can be quite useful for keeping your mines in play, not getting them all yeeted out of existence, but the temporal spec that we're using gives them temporary hit points. So I'm not looking to prioritize that at this time. Let's see. Yep, I think that's good. So we are not focusing on exotics. So we are going to take off particle generator amplifier. And we may in fact put on Tyler's duality. Which at this time is giving us 5.7 critical chance. Because we are not focusing on energy weapons, we could keep high auxiliary power, which would give us improved bonuses to, well, they're not currently slotted on the bar, but augs to inertial dampers. It'll improve the performance of that. It should improve the performance of very cold in space. And it would improve our damage by a bonus 6.8% bonus all damage. But I would be tempted to perhaps do, I believe it's called the magnified firepower. Let's see. Plus 6.3% bonus weapon damage. Well, you know, the all damage would do us better. Or the thing that I was really being tempted for was the advanced hull reinforcements that I had mentioned earlier, about 12.5 bonus all damage resistance rating. That pairs very nicely with this Honored Dead to give I would expect 70, perhaps 73, with this ship having some innate damage resistance built in. Let's see. Rapid repairs, hull regeneration, hull plating, plus 25 energy and radiation damage resistance rating, devastating weaponry, plus 2.5 critical chance, armored hull, plus 10% hull hit points. So yes, the kinetics are not as impressive as we would like, but we're not getting kinetic damage resistance rating, but honestly, it's fine, especially with what we're going to be doing. So with this, let's see what Augs to inertial dampers does for our resistances. Yep, taking us up to 31 at the lowest, and it looks like 46. Is that a 46? No, 45. That's not shabby though, and once we have Honor Dead stacking with it, but I'm going to wait for it to fall off, and then I'm going to cast it again. And we shall put on, well, first of all, we could just put it on now and see what it does. Active advanced hull reinforcement. Well, before, let us remember, we are currently at, generally 30. A few outliers, but about 30 damage resistance rating. So to rates, let us put this on. Took us up to 38. And then when we activate this, 51 in many categories, 39 radiation resist being our lagging stat here, which honestly we're not going to encounter radiation as an incoming damage in the wild very frequently. And so yeah, I would expect us to be pushing perhaps the 75 damage resistance cap, which that bonus damage resistance that this trait provides actually can let you go past cap if you have enough damage resistance rating. The question, though, is that necessary? Do we want to be trying that hard to survive? Do we want to take the bonus damage hit? We have 141k hull at this time. I did not check when we were in combat before to see what threatening stance was getting us up to. And do bear in mind that since we are still using kinetics, there's no reason for us to use command weapon system efficiency. Get off of my bar. Direct shields off to a direction I'm not going to use. Begone. And also this one here, disable mind creep. I generally never use that, so I like to just kick it off my bar. Battery capacitor be gone. Reroute power to right shields. Nope, go away. Okay. Save to kinetic mine. We are also going to be, these are exotics. That's an exotic based deflector, so we're going to be heading toward impulse expertise, starship exotic particle generator, which is not our focus, but starship control expertise, again, not our focus, starship weapon specialization, starship shield penetration, and then the critical chance and severity. So yes to that. For additional get up and go, I believe we are going to be using the prevailing innervated. Let's make sure it's the right one. Activating firing mode bridge officer abilities. Yep, that's going to help us get around, and this ship is kind of sluggish, so that will be a boon. And then we will use the mycelial warp core due to it providing the 2-piece of Tilly. Alrighty. So, save that again. Check our stats. We are now at 51% global crit chance. Let us see. We've got our kinetic focused consoles. We have our crit chance and severity focused consoles. We have our little immunity dude who's giving us a substantial amount of critical severity, though the question remains whether or not we would be better suited with another like crit chance severity console. I wouldn't imagine by much. So I'm kind of inclined to keep our little bubble, but we don't have unconventional systems cooling it, so it is less impressive now, so actually I think I shall replace it. But with what? Ultimate Swarm Processor would give us an additional 3.9 critical chance and accuracy rating. So I'm quite tempted to do that. So let us just take a little tour. Of course, this is a universal console slot, so it's going to be showing us all the things that we could possibly use. Oh, let's also move it this way so it's easier for everyone to see. Tachyokinetic converter would be a top possibility due to the critical chance and severity both being baked in. Ooh, something is happening. Follower received. King of... Something's in the way. Oh, it disappeared. You should talk into the chat for me so I can see your name with a more legible color. I still haven't gone and changed the colors on that theme. Hello, King of Remenshin? King of Remenshin. Is that correct? Did Neko get it? Ramenshin? Is it supposed to be separate? Ramenshin? Like ramen noodles and shin? King of Ramenshin. Well, welcome. Thank you for the follow. It does help. We are trying to get Twitch Senpai to... Oh, Remenshin. Remenshin? Like that? I have been informed that it is meant to be together. Remenshin. We will find out. We will be corrected in the chat. But yes, to get Twitch Senpai to notice us, we need all the followers we can get. I believe a minimum of 50. So get in here, fishies, and push that follow button. All right, where were we? We have not yet received correction on our pronunciation. So perhaps Remenshin was correct. Right, we were perusing our options. Let's see. I am leaning toward perhaps the modified swarm processor at this time. I'm just going to go ahead and see if anything else here. I mean, I would hate to lose the critical severity. We have other consoles that could be, you know, removed. We shall see. Oh, Dominion defense screen also. Again, the active would not, it's not terribly impressive because it reduces when you fire your weapons. Cease firing if you want it to be useful. Never. The most useful thing we can do is eliminate the enemies that are a problem for our defenses, right? Best defense is a good dead enemy. But we would be, you know, if we slot it, it would be for the critical chance and severity. That comes from the Jem'Hadar bug ship. You can get that in one of the MUDs bundles, the Out of This Wormhole bundle, but it's also in the Captain's, the Dominion Captain's bundle. So, and that's a good ship. It also has an excellent trait for extending the specialization-based weapon firing modes. So, yeah, it's a really good get for both this console and that trait. And that's specific to the captain bundle, the Dominion Captain bundle. The other bug ship that's in the MUDs bundle does not come with Vanguard specialists, but it does have the cannon rapid fire extension trait called Go for the Kill, but the the legendary bug ship that comes in that captain bundle has that trait as well. So that is the better get for traits. Like, honestly, it's a super premium ship. It's really, really great. It has a great trait. It has a great console. It is a vanguard bug ship, so it has wingmen. It does a lot of work. Let's see here. For some reason, we still have 2 Genesis seeds. I should delete one of them at some point, but that could interfere with my builds, so we shall not in this exact moment. There are a lot of consoles for us to go through, but I don't, which makes me disinclined to actually do so. I think... So many options, never enough console slots. I know there's also the turn console, as I call it, which I shall just quickly do a search for so I can show you. Oh wait, no. Things are happening. Oh, we have been raided. Thank you, King of... Oh, let's get it right this time. Ramention. And to any of the people that have been involuntarily thrust into my stream, welcome. Please follow, even if you are going to leave me. Even if you're going to leave me immediately, please give me a follow. Neko needs those follows so that Twitch Senpai will notice me. And what faction are you? I am currently on the a Federation character. Oh, look at those. Look at those bad little impulse engines deciding that they want to be visible without my permission. No. Okay. I was going to show you what I call the turn console. Let me move it so that you all can see. So this is a conductive RCS accelerator, and it comes in many flavors. It is a crafted console, and what bonus it gets, for example here, additional turn, can be practically any stat, if I'm not mistaken. And turn, I think, is the most sought after version. So if you go look this up on the exchange, it may very well be like 150 million to get this all by itself. Always make sure that you check the various marks that it could be at, the various qualities it could be at, because you might find that like the gold version is actually cheaper than the very rare version. It depends on, who put their thing up and at what price. But this being basically plus 100% turn rate is very useful on any ship that is, slow to turn. That's all we're going to say about it. Slow to turn. I'm kind of inclined for the tachyokinetic converter for now. Tachyokinetic converter. And then these are definitely going. And for now, since it's on my mind, and then we'll decide if I'm changing it later. Dominion defense screen, because that is crit chance and severity, which has bumped us up to 53.6 with 244 severity. Let's go ahead and save. And then, as I said, this one is one that I'm kind of debating about because I feel like it could do some stuff for us. But would it? Would it really? Let me check temporal operative. Let's see. Projectile weapons have a 10% chance of doing a non-exotic dot. So, I don't know. Feels like it could do some work, but maybe it wouldn't. So it could be a contender for removal. But the question is, what do we want to put here? I've actually seen people do crazy amounts of damage without any Cat 1 improvements. Like this console, that would give us... Oh, things are happening, aren't they? That's where I heard. I guess where I heard the thing like go doing, like it was going to do something. Never mind. Perhaps it was phantom, wishful hearing. Oh, I'm getting a follower, yay! We need those, so many of them. Save. I'm definitely not keeping that. So, but as I was saying, I saw someone once upon a time who was using all crit chance and severity type consoles without any cat ones, such as this, for dancing angry tooltip. Let's try again. Well, not that one actually. Photon. So since we're using photon mines and we might adjust our projectiles to be more photon based, because right now this one's plasma or something, like not quite sure. This one's definitely photon and this one's quantum, but we're using this for the 2-piece set, so we're not getting rid of it. Although, if we did want to focus our kinetics, because the spreads that we get from entwined tactical matrices, that, it goes to whatever projectile it wants, whichever one is ready to go and is firing. So by minimizing, like if we only want this one to get the spreads, then it